from east west. Going to have a look at uranium. Look, I'm just going to look at a longer term picture of uranium this week. I'm just going to look at URA because it pretty much holds the same across all the major stocks in the uranium space. It is looking very weak. I think we just need to look from a big picture perspective here. And just consider the scenarios both good and bad, because at this point where we are and the failure we've had to launch, anything's possible. So let's go in and have a look. So I think this is going to be a big picture week. So when we look here at URA, this is the monthly chart. Okay, so this looks not great. The fact that this is our sort of monthly trend line. Which we look like, well, look, there's still a long way to go here for the rest of the month, of course. We're only in the first week of September, but I don't particularly want to see a close below this. Okay, so I'm just going to watch this. Okay, now I did say a few weeks ago that after the initial puke, and I think we were sort of in this area, that the market was sort of on sale for long-term holders, and look, that still remains true. But I put it with the caveat that, of course, just because it's on sale doesn't mean it's going to get cheaper. And that if you are wanting to buy the market here, because basically you don't worry about this technical analysis stuff, it's not really important to you. All you really want to know about is the fundamental story behind uranium, and you believe that there's going to be that shortage, and you had to have an unwavering belief in that, because the only way you're going to be able to withstand any more downside is an unwavering belief that it's going to be higher eventually. Okay, so I think the problem here is, now that we're sort of slipping back through that, the next sort of point of call becomes the overall retracement, and are we headed down this far? It can't be ruled out. Okay, I'm not saying that it will, but I'm not saying that it won't. It's certainly entirely possible that this could move all the way back down to that. Okay, and then you've got another point of sale. Okay, another massive retracement. Okay, it is definitely not impossible. If I was going to put that together, then I'd be thinking, okay, well, the best case scenario would, for me, if that was going to be the case, would probably look something like this, something like that. But that is, this that will go out to 2030, and I'm not making any comment on timing because I don't know, and I don't know if that's going to happen. But I would just look at this thinking, okay, well, if we're going to get down that far, and that's still a big if, but definitely not impossible, well, then I would think, okay, we've got 3 swings, a correction. I'd be looking for a repeating 3 swings. That's just how I would look at that on a big picture in terms of a monthly market. But word of warning, this could go on into next year. This could be a much larger, a more major correction. Definitely this can unfold this way, and this may not eventuate at all. Okay, could get this, could definitely do that. I mean, I don't think it will, but I'm not saying that it won't. Okay, and I think you've got to be very, very careful of anyone who says that can't happen, because that can certainly happen. Like I said, we got to prepare for the worst, and I've said this a million times through all my videos. What's the worst that could happen? Well, this would be the worst that could happen, I would think. So if you've got a plan in place that's going to deal with that, if it does happen, you've got to have your disaster scenario ready to go. Okay, so I'm not saying that will happen, but I'm saying it can't not happen. Put it that way. Now, just looking at this on the weekly, and this weekly cloud is always important to me, but the problem now is that we are moving a bit more below after having come back up. So you can see what's happened here, right? We've come back and tested the Tenkan-sen, right, the faster moving line, and we failed at it. We didn't even get back to the Kijun-sen, but now we are getting back below this cloud. So once we got below this cloud, but we fought back, there was a chance that maybe we might find our feet within the cloud and start trending back up, but that is just not happening, not this week. Okay, now we've got another big down week. Now that's what I was kind of looking for. I was hoping that the retracement would come back and hold, and maybe even hold the bottom of the cloud and give us something that would suggest that perhaps we've got a trend change beginning, but we don't have that. Okay, and now it looks, I mean, this is not quite a double bottom. But it looks to me like, especially the way the overall market looks, that this is going to give way. Okay, and if it does, well then we've got to stand aside until we get the next bounce. So wherever that's going to be. So what we would need to do if this breaks, and I'm sort of thinking that it will, is that we just need to see then the rally, because the only way we can change the trend is to have the high low and the high high. At that point we can go, okay, now we can go backwards, reverse engineer everything. Where are we? What can we expect going forward from here? But look, the fact that we're under this cloud now, under this weekly cloud, is not a good sign, because timing wise, it's going to take, in my opinion, a long time now to get back through this cloud and resume any sort of uptrend. So, those sort of scenarios that I was talking about, either much lower, which I don't know, but it's not impossible, or we might just start to get something a bit more akin to what was going on through here. And I talked about this last week, that we might just actually just go into a range. Okay, now I thought we might go into a range higher. Okay, so I thought maybe that this would eventuate up here, but that hasn't happened. We've had a much more major correction. So this is certainly not something that we can rule out. I don't know if that's going to happen. It's certainly in the list of possibilities. But look, the one thing I would suggest that is getting less of a possibility at this point is that I don't think that we're going to see this anytime soon. I don't think we're. Look, we could. Of course, that can happen. Okay, it can happen either way. We can go up, we can go down, but it looks less likely to me that we're going to get some sort of explosive rally. Look, there's a certain pundit out there on Twitter who's, a bit of an A-grade clown, who suggests that the market's going to do this in that time frame. I think that is just incredibly unlikely. It can't be ruled out, but that looks incredibly unlikely to happen to me. Incredibly unlikely. That, sure, okay, yeah. That maybe it's something more like that. Okay. Where we're just going to have to go through a long time of just digesting this before we can sort of move back above the cloud and resume the uptrend. Okay. Yeah, maybe it'll take till into 2026. I don't know. And look, I don't know that it won't do that as well. But I feel pretty confident to be able to say that won't happen. Okay. I feel more. Look, I would feel more confident that it was going to do that than it was going to go the other way. And I don't think this will happen, but once again, that also cannot be ruled out. You can see it, right? If we get below this low, it really then becomes about these sort of lows, this bottom coming into place. And then you could probably look at this and start to play a bit of Elliot ball with it as well. Now, if we were just going to apply an Elliot wave case to this, and this is nothing more than a pattern, okay? So, look, put it this way. I don't think you can say head and shoulders are great, but Elliott wave's rubbish because it's trying to predict. Well, Elliott wave and head and shoulders are the same thing. They're just patterns that repeat in the market. So if we were going to play this game with an Elliott structure, we've got the extended move down here, which represents 161.8% the move of wave 1. Okay, so that's the extended wave. We've had a bounce and now we're failing away again. So all you would really do with this now is just sort of set up, okay, well, what sort of relationships could we expect for the last wave down? Now, the most common one would be 1-to-1 of wave 1. So the length of this projected off the top of that to give us this. So that's going to put us down to make, if that just break that bottom, okay, so we get some sort of double bottom. Well, it'll be a rough double bottom, okay, but it's going to line up sort of through here. Okay, so that would be one scenario. Say, look, yeah, maybe that's getting closer to eventuating. We don't really have any divergence going on here. We're probably going to need to see some sort of divergence. I mean, the divergences on the weekly, they don't happen often. Well, we don't get down into this oversold area on the weekly often, so it would take a mighty shove. So to get this down here, this is going to have to fall a lot. It'll be down challenging this, I would suspect. Now, is that possible? Now, I've just said yes, it is. Of course it is. Because one of the other things you can do is, you can put the 61.8% retracement on the top of wave 4 to get the extended wave 5. Now, if that was to, that would not be a good scenario for the entire market, but it cannot be ruled out. And if that happens, that's going to put us right down in line with this. Okay, so that would be, and that's the same area that I was pointing out. This area comes into play. All right, so that's probably what the bulls don't want to see, because there's going to be a lot of people who capitulate forever. I would suggest if it does that, they will just put uranium in that too hard basket, never go back to it. But this cannot be ruled out. All right, so I think it's important to acknowledge that if you're still holding long. Okay, and if you're holding long for whatever reasons that you believe, then I would just say that technically I would not be disregarding this scenario. I'm not saying this will happen, but I'm also not saying that it won't happen. But I mean, I've even seen some of the permabulls on Twitter have basically just thrown the towel on it. They've been telling you the whole time, oh, it's good. Well, look, I think we've got to think about the fact that maybe this is done. Okay, and like I said, the fundamental story is not going away, but you can see how this is potentially all going together, right? That we're going to get some sort of 5-wave movement down here, and if we do, then we've got to come back and re-examine what's going on. But you can see how this all goes together. Okay, it's a possibility, and it's a possibility you've got to be aware of. Okay, because coming out of whatever this is, it could be a multi-year thing before it recovers. Okay, well, I mean, think about the time that it took for us to get through all this. Okay, get through that correction that we're pretty much here. This correction that we had here. So this went from November 21 all the way to March 23. Okay, and so what I'm saying is that after this is done, it could take years for the market to recover. So you've got to decide whether or not you want to ride that out. Okay, I'll leave that up to you. It's your money, it's your investment. You do your research on what you think's right for you. But technically, that's a picture that is emerging that I don't think can be ignored. Now, I do appreciate that a lot of people might come out and say, "Oh, mate, it wasn't that long ago that you were telling people to get long because it's on sale." It's like, well, look, all I pointed out is that the market got here to a point where it was on sale from the 2023. It had come off 50%. Okay, actually, I've got to reverse that. Pardon me. It had come off 50% from the bottom basically of the 2023 rally. Okay, which sort of started around about there. Yeah, that's true. That's why I put those disclaimers in. It's like, guys, if you believe in the story, it's not a bad place to buy it. It's a lot cheaper than what it was a couple of months ago. Okay, but nothing in the fundamental space has changed as far as I know. In fact, if anything, the news out of Kazakhstan, even enhanced the story. But that's up to you. You've got to decide about that, all right? Don't listen to me on the net. Okay, don't listen to people on YouTube. Look, I don't know, a lot of you do. A lot of you watch that, I think that Justin Hoon guy, or whatever his name is, the Uranium Insider, who's just a constant bull, who thinks this is just a blip. Well, look, he might be right, okay? But don't make decisions based on what he says. Don't make decisions based on what I say, okay? Take a wide range of sampling, of opinions. Look at the Red Devils videos that I'll link to in the description. Look at uranium charts on Twitter, okay? People who are not got vested interest in just continually pumping this market. So look, that was quite a long video purely on URA, but everything holds the same, okay? Everything holds the same with this. It doesn't matter what uranium stock you're looking at, they're all doing the same thing. I've just taken this as the general broad outline, and I just think it's important at this point, as we fail away here, to acknowledge the potential worst case scenario, but still hope for the best, because this could still prove to be maybe 5 waves down that just bottoms in and around this spot, and from here we start to find our feet, but we don't know that yet. Okay, but like I said, I think if we start to find our feet around here, One of the problems we possibly going to face is going into a trading range, but that remains to be seen. So look, I'm just going to leave it here this week, okay, guys? So look, just take it easy out there. Keep your head about you. Like I keep saying, have a plan in place. If you had a plan in place, you probably got out of the market once it got through here, or you probably had one of these major pivots in place where you got out of the market, and you're fine. If that's the case and you still believe in the story, well, now you're in a good position, because if you're on the sidelines with money in your pocket, you've got the ability to sit here and watch now. Take your time, and it could take many weeks, months, it could take even years before the next great entry appears, okay? But we don't have any of those signals yet. We have a downtrend, a major downtrend, and we are threatening major trend lines. So just keep it tight, see what happens, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.